we think through the lens of what is going to, like you said, maximize their budget and maximize their ROI, which ROI is not clicks, it's not impressions, it is not even phone calls, it's not even form fills. It's getting closer, but it's booked jobs and it's repeat job. Believe it or not, the Asian community is really great to get into because they tell all their friends. That's like the ideal.
What's going on, Anneliese? How you doing?
What's up? I'm good. Kids are napping. I got my adult time.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the Forever Podcast.
Sure.
We're going to dive into a lot of different things. People are going to filter it into the room. I'm going to tell them real quick, ask questions about your brand and business. Okay. So real quick, can you let everybody know who you are and what you do?
Yeah. I'm Anneliese Vance. I like to say mommy, CEO of Never Miss a Moment Consulting. Mommy always comes before CEO. And let's see, my business. We do done for you Google ads for dad-owned businesses. And I'm also a fractional CMO and a marketing vendor broker, which I describe as I'm the eHarmony of marketing vendors. So I match up personalities and price points and just, all the different factors. And I'm a matchmaker.
Awesome. How many vendors do you have?
Oh my gosh. Well, that is an ever evolving answer because I'll tell you why. So I started with, working with a lot of marketing vendors. Like we do Google ads in-house and I do the data analysis and all the project management and all that kind of stuff. But we don't do SEO and we don't do virtual assistant that Janide and Chris do. And we don't do video production and we don't do branding. So I do some strategy, but I'm not like a marketing strategist. Like some people are going to, have a $5,000 package. So we started there, but then when I niched down to dads, I guess it was October 22, I want to say, I now have all these parenting vendors too. So I have the single dad coach and the blended family coach and the dad coach in Holland. And, I've now we're getting life insurance and, financial planning, like everything around families and dads. And I just always say, I want to be the person that they say, Anneliese, do you know? And I can say yes, or I will find them, or they will find me. So everyone, it's more like a family first community that's like become this conglomerate of like everything family owned businesses needs, which is pretty sweet.
Gotcha. Yeah, because your niche is in family business, correct?
Yeah, family owned. So dad owned, but we're helping them. We've helped single moms, we've helped moms, we've helped people that don't have families and don't have kids and are dog dads. But generally, we're helping family owned businesses. Under 15 to 20 employees is kind of our sweet spot. Like once they have a marketing manager on staff, I then become their competition. Becomes very interesting, I'll just say. I can't think of a word, but catty becomes very catty.
Okay.
So,
Gotcha. And the family-owned businesses are what? Can you give me a couple examples?
Absolutely. So generally we say B2C service-based companies, but we do everything from helping jewelers to locksmiths, moving. We have a headshot photographer and a laundromat consultant, and we're about to help a gentleman who does professional development for teachers. So it's when you're on LinkedIn, it's kind of anything goes as long as we can legitimately help. But our sweet spot are those like heating and air, plumbing, concrete, remodeling, the ones that are trying to get their foot in the door, homes that have the families and the nice houses. They're not searching for the apartments. They're searching for that, prototypical, like 2.4 kids, white picket fence kind of thing.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Gotcha. And you said you're like the Google Ads
Mhm.
expert, right?
I think after almost 18 years, I can maybe say
You
that.
gotta own it. You gotta own it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I am Google certified, Microsoft certified, Facebook certified. I always say I got my PhD, but not at college. I got it in real life training with working with real life businesses. And yeah, I've been doing it since 2007. So
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. So help us out here.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see
Ooh.
that people make with their Google Ads? And then what are the best ways to maximize their Google Ads and their presence and making sure that they show up?
Okay. So I will tell my famous pie analogy in order to
Okay.
answer the question because this is, I guess I should coin it, but, or I don't know. You're not going to get a patent on an analogy, but so
It's
if you
your
think of
framework.
pie
It's your
crust, right?
framework.
Like everyone likes pie crust, or you can even think like a pizza pie crust, right? You want to match the toppings to the pie crust. And so if you have too little toppings or you have, too much crust, it's too much dough, like, it's just, you want to have the right ratio. So your pie crust is going to be your keywords you're going after. It's going to be your geographies that you're going after. It's going to be your ad scheduling that you're going after. Biggest mistakes is people run it 24/7 nationally for every keyword. I mean, if you want to use like the
Mm,
biggest mistake ever, um, what we do is we ask a company, what's your budget? What's your goals? Right. So your budget is also, so if your pie crust is that framework, your budget is the toppings.
mhm.
And that's how you make it equal. And so if you don't have enough budget to hit your goals, well, then let's go after a smaller target area. Let's go after a day. And, I'll use our mover that we've helped forever as an example. The biggest day that people are searching for moving is Mondays between 10 and 3 and 5 to 10.
Mhm.
And we know that after running this campaign for year after year, month after month, that's his sweet spot. And, there's times within those time frames that if we wanted to get like super granular, we could do that too. If you think of, like dinner time and then like put in like, the soccer practice, they're not
Mhm.
searching then, and then you get the kids in bed. And then after that, like those are the times that it's going to peak. And so if you pay attention to this data that most agencies, they don't have to,
Mhm.
right? And that's where we come in and we differentiate ourselves. And we think through the lens of what is going to, like you said, maximize their budget and maximize their ROI, which ROI is not clicks, it's not impressions, it is not even phone calls. That's getting closer. It's not even form fills,
Okay.
that's getting closer, but it's booked jobs and it's repeat jobs and it's people that, like, believe it or not, like the Asian community is really great to get into because they tell all their friends. Like that's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ideal, right? Now we can't target like Asian person searching on Google. That'd be amazing. But um, that's what we're going after is those booked jobs. He wants the beginning of the month and the end of the month and weekends booked. If those are booked, he's happy. If they're not booked, I'm getting a text or a phone call. And so that's how we gauge
Gotcha.
it. And so another mistake I would say that people make, they just run it on autopilot.
Yes.
They're not checking in. And they're also not collaborating with the business owner. We do done for you Google ads. We do legitimately have clients that we have not talked to in months because everything's fine and they're on vacation.
Okay.
But we also have people that were like, okay, this is what we're seeing on our end. And they're like, yeah, but nothing's booking. And we're like, okay, that's a problem.
Okay.
So I know you want to keep rolling with your questions, but
Yeah, yeah.
if I can add and give a
Yeah.
value add here, something we went through with the same gentleman November to February. is he had bots that were stealing 40% of his budget because his website was not set up to prevent bots. And so I said, look, we're going to keep a little bit of budget running. We're not going to pull you off because you don't want to do that. That's going to starve the baby, right? Nobody wants to starve their baby. But we're also going to put the effort into fixing your website right now, because if we don't, this is going to keep happening. And he legit may have gone out of business if we hadn't have caught this. That's how critical watching this data is in 2024 and going into 2025. 2022 wasn't even a thought. It was fourth quarter 2023 and on. That's when it became critical to have this. So I actually opened up another division of my website. It's still, or my business, it's still growing, but I do consults for people to make sure their website is bot proof, because he's had 0 bots since we changed that kind of
It's
stuff.
very niche.
Yeah. Well, and it relates to Google ads, right? So it's a problem that we saw, and we're like, let's make sure, because most business owners don't know. If you're not a web designer, they just don't deal with this stuff on a day-to-day basis, and they just don't know. And a lot of it's common sense. Like when they go through the consult, they're like, oh, like, I'm glad I'm paying for this, but like, really, it's that simple. And I'm like, yeah, you just have to slow down to think about it. So
yeah, that's so what I'm hearing is you got to know the data. So
have to
go deeper into who your ideal customer is. What are they doing? Where do they hang out at? What are the times that they're looking for your service? Like, just the more you know data, instead of just kind of throwing things at a wall and seeing what sticks, you're saying, no, definitely look at the data, and then also see kind of where the gaps could be in the conversion. So yeah, we can drive all the traffic all day to you, but if you don't have somebody that's taking those calls that can actually convert and get the job booked, or you're getting bots showing up on your website, and you got a big percentage of people that are literally not qualified, and they're bots just clicking on things, and they're never going to book anything. So how do you filter throughout that? So that's really good, because those two things are probably very helpful that people aren't thinking, especially when they're thinking about Google ads.
right.
Is there a budget number that people should not start with when it comes to their Google ads? Like, is there a threshold of like, and I've heard many different things about this. I'm really curious on your thoughts.
I love this question. I've been getting this question a lot. And I think it is actually one of our USPs about our company.
Mm-hmm.
If you're with an agency, that number is going to be higher because their management fee is higher. The average agency, and I'm not slamming any agency, the company that I used to work for, they're really good people. It's the infrastructure, right? You've got to pay for the sales rep and the manager, and then the analyst and the manager and the VP. And unfortunately, all that's getting pushed down to the small business owner.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't afford, if they have, let's say, a $2,000 budget, to have 800 of it going to a management fee. I mean, that is
right.
So if you're working with a more, well, I always call us the anti-agency, but just to be a little snarky, but if you're working with someone who doesn't have as much infrastructure and the management fee is lower, then your budget's going to go further. And so that answer can be lower.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it goes back to that pie crust and that pie filling analogy is, how many keywords are you trying to go after? How big of a geography are you trying to go after? How often are you trying to be up? We can customize and have a budget go a lot further if people will work with us and get those answers. However, if you're working, say, in like plumbing, heating and air, a budget under 3,000 to 4,000, you're kidding yourself. I mean, just depends on what city you're into. Like, I'm from Cincinnati, And so there's some big players there that they're not going away.
Yeah.
And to play in that space, what a lot of people don't understand is two things. One, Google's customer isn't the people actually even buying their product. It's the people that are searching. It's the end user.
Yep.
And so they want to make sure Google's not being bad, but if you're constantly searching for something and you're getting misinformation, they're not mad at the customer who's trying to advertise. They're mad at Google.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's who Google's trying to serve. The second is trying to figure out how to phrase this. Ask your next question. I'm trying to figure out how to.
Okay.
Well.
Okay.
So it's an auction process. Okay.
Okay.
So if I always used to joke, like if you had the paddle, right? The goal is to be the one sitting there with the paddle holding it and everyone else not having any money. That's the best place to be because then you can get the best bid on that. That just doesn't always happen. The other thing that we're seeing is we set up daily spends for our customers so that they don't run out of budget mid-month or with a week left.
Oh.
A lot of customers, even the big players, the people that are running their budgets, they're not doing that. And so we swoop in that last week and we kick butt.
Yeah.
And family-friendly channel over here. So I'd use a stronger word, but I have 2 and a 4-year-old that might run in. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so not only all those other factors, but making sure that the budget's going to last the whole month. Or, sometimes customers want to be aggressive and they might do a budget increase mid-month and they want to, really up the scale. But
Mm-hmm.
most, we're trying to make sure that it's going to last for that whole month. And so we'll talk with people about that strategy and say, hey, like, we're not going to go after it if it's this high because we want to make sure we can have it be even keel the whole month and being able to search. And so in doing that, you have to have the budget to play the game.
Gotcha.
And we've turned people away and said, hey, hold on to your money. You're not quite ready because this is the budget you need unless we can pull, like I said, a smaller geography, pull out some keywords, those kind of things. Then we can be a little bit more creative. And most agencies aren't going to take the time to do that. So I'd say that's another differentiator for us is that we will slow down. Like we're working with a young lady right now, very niche. And she wants to go out. We know what cities she wants to go after. We know what keywords. And so we're going in with the research and we're going to see, okay, one, is there search volume for this? Because that's another mistake people make is they go after words where there's no search volume and then wonder why they're not getting
Is
clicks.
there a place to check search volume?
Yeah, it's called the Google keyword tool.
Okay.
Anyone can use it. It's free. I mean, you have to know how to use it. Just because it's free doesn't, mean it's going to help anybody out.
Of course.
I always use that analogy of, the mechanic that gave the $500 bill and it was $10 for the tool and $490 for knowing how to use the tool.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so we're going to come in and say, hey, like, because she wants to know what budget she needs to come in at, and then we can give her a legitimate answer. The other thing the Google keyword tool allows people to do is you can sometimes find, I don't like the term backdoor keywords, but I guess they've been called that, is words that people aren't really paying attention to that will get people in the door. Because once the plumber's in the door, that they're going to like do the whole, estimate on not just the one problem, but they're going to find, hey, by the way, this is wrong and this is wrong and this is wrong. So we call them the get them in the door words.
Okay.
Our plumber, the biggest keywords that we're using to help him get in are about toilet repair and water heater repair. If you go after plumber Cincinnati, it's way more expensive. If you go after that, it's about 25% of the cost. So it allows his budget to extend further. We'll also ask people, what do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing? Or what's the most profitable to do? So we'll get in there and ask those more custom, granular, detailed questions to people as well.
Wow. So
Yeah.
is there like how quick can somebody start getting results? So let's say they start working with you, you identify a lot of these different places where like, hey, let's adjust this, let's make sure this is good, let's get these great keywords. How quick can we see results? Can we see something in the first month, 2 months, three
Yeah.
months? Like
Another
I've
great
also heard a
question.
range. I've heard a range of this as well from a lot of different
It's a
people.
great question. So one thing that people do need to know when they start a Google campaign is so it depends on if they've never run the campaign before, like if we're brand spanking new, which we can help. If we're taking over someone's campaign that's been running a little bit and we're coming in, then they won't go through this. But if we're either relaunching a campaign that was maybe stagnant for a little bit or we're launching a brand new campaign,
Hmm.
there's what's going to be called the learning phase. So that first week, you might get nothing.
Hmm.
And we plan that in. So Google always does their billing on the first. So some people will start on the first, but some people, if we know they're going to go through that learning phase, we may start them mid-month
Okay.
because we know there's not going to be any clicks anyway. But theoretically, they could get something day one.
Hmm.
It just depends on who's searching, right? It goes back to what we
Yeah.
were talking about. It's not just that they got the click. Is their website set up to convert? And then, like you said, is someone who knows what the heck they're doing on the other end of the line that can convert it? Because I will
Right.
tell you, that is one of the biggest holes in the funnel is people who are either really great at customer service, but they're not good at sales. And
Mm.
that can be a big problem too. But what we do tell people, so one differentiator about us as well is we don't have contracts. We feel that it should be
No
performance based.
contracts.
No contracts.
Why? What if somebody acts a fool?
Well, we're month to month. So we do our onboarding.
Okay.
And then if they want to do 1 month and they want to take it in house, our onboarding set up to cover us that we build that in. Now, most people we're vetting, we're having conversations with, and I can count on one hand in 4 years that we've been in business that's happened. And I think it's because of our very thorough onboarding that we do that doesn't happen, or they kind of weed themselves out before we even start.
Okay.
But we believe that it should be performance based. I don't want someone who's looking at that bill every month and, oh, well, I signed a 6 month contract or I signed a 12-month contract, but it's not working. Well, all that creates is resentment, which is wonderful
For
PR,
sure.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we like when our customers look and go, oh, nope, it's delivering. My phone is ringing off the hook, or my form fills went up, or I'm seeing, the click-through
Hmm.
rate go up. And, I know that we're turning the ship around, but we're making progress. They're very happy to pay their bill.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's and I've always believed, and this goes back to when I was in corporate and my manager never understood this, which is probably why he's still a manager and I'm owning a business. But advertising should always pay for itself. It sounds like a very funny thing to say, but I don't think anyone should ever pay for advertising. I think it should pay for itself.
You always should get the investment. Like
Mhm.
you should get your
And if
investment
it's
back.
not, that's why I have the marketing vendor broker side of my business, because we can pivot. Google Ads is not for everyone. Now,
Yeah.
it's for a lot of people, and it's for a lot more people than probably think that it is for them.
Hmm.
But it is not for everyone. And or people don't have the budget to play in the game yet,
Hmm.
right? So it could be for them. They just need more of a budget. But it should pay for itself.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's why, you asked, you didn't ask the specific question, but you know, the reason we like to help those people with the higher ticket items is there's less conversation about
Hmm.
ROI, because 1 or 2 jobs in the month, everything else is gravy, and they're very, very happy.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why the threshold of
Mhm.
because if you got $10, it's like
Right.
you can't
Yeah.
expect the world
I
like
mean,
I want my phone ringing off the hook for $10.
so here's the thing. I always say anyone can advertise on Google. Google will let you go in, set up an account, hook your credit card up like a
Hmm.
vacuum at a car wash place, and they will send the money right out of it. And then you'll get this bill at the end of the month and be like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And you'll say Google doesn't work. No, you didn't know how to work your vacuum. Sorry, but my kids are obsessed right now with going through the car wash because all the different lights turn on for the different stuff. So
Oh,
they
yeah,
go to
yeah.
rainbow car wash. And then I like to vacuum my son. He thinks it's hilarious. So sorry, vacuums on the brain. But no, literally, I mean, I have talked to clients where like, I just got this $900 bill and I didn't get any jobs. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, let's go in and see what the heck did you have set up here.
Yeah.
$10 is definitely not the threshold. But I will tell you, we have helped a gentleman. They're a locksmith. They've been my client since 2007 when I was in sales and were one of the first people to follow me over to Never Miss a Moment. He has a $500 budget that includes his management fee, and he kicks tail because the keywords, the cost per click is so low.
So low. Yeah. Okay.
With the keywords that we have set up, and he could double his budget. I mean, he's just very happy where he's at. But doubling his budget would not like put him in this like astronomical advertising budget either. So yeah, but I would say our average client is probably right around probably 3,000 to 4,000 right now, but we have people that we help in the 5 figures too. It just depends on the client, how aggressive they want to be is really the question there.
Okay. Okay, cool. And is there should people do like more of a campaign structure of like they're trying to reach a goal, or should people just have a continuous, like just like an ad that just always runs for them no matter what, or like promote up towards something, like if it's an event, or if it's a goal, if it's a sale that they have and they're only running it for the holidays, something like that, where it's more of a campaign structure versus, hey, we just got this tried and true that we run all the time. Is there a way to
There's
go
both
about that? Okay.
It depends. So, the mechanic that we help, he does use tires. So he will increase his budget around, oh my gosh, tax return time. So for first quarter, he'll increase it, but then he does this kind of tried and true. But when people are slipping around and at first snow, right? Like we're getting those tire ads up there. Our jeweler, he's running specials right now because, we've got Black Friday. So his season is Black Friday to Valentine's Day. That's like his big hot season. And we have some tried and true things. Like he does some very unique things. Like he's a custom jeweler that's sought all over the nation. He also does lab grown diamonds that you've probably seen like ads on YouTube for. So, and we also can do that. Like we can run a Google Max campaign that's going to include the YouTube and the display ads and all of that. It's not where we tend to start with customers. We want to max out the Google ads because in my mind, that's where people's hands are on their wallet and they're looking to spend their money.
Right.
They're looking to give their money to someone. Where the display ads, people are more in like, oh, okay. They're like more in an awareness. Or, they're maybe in more of a research kind of mode. And I don't like my customers' money to go to that. Like that's someone that can help them with branding. We're really good at having hands change, dollar bills and credit cards and PayPal, Venmo, whatever. But in answer to your question, it really just depends on the customer and it depends on the season. And we have to be ready to pivot. Like we have a concrete company that we've helped for a couple of years. Now, all of a sudden they want to get into water basement waterproofing. Probably could be either way for the keywords. That's another thing. Misspelled keywords can actually be some big ones. It's not like you want to hang your hat on that, but knowing those
because people will enter it in differently.
Yeah, they'll spell it wrong.
Since I misspell,
back to, and only because you trigger this and I want to give people as much value as possible. Another big thing people don't do is they do not build up a big enough negative keyword wall. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
We helped a lighting company. He sold chandeliers. If you type in chandeliers, Chandelier, the song by Sia, and Jordan Smith's
Beautiful
audition
song, by the
on
way. Love that.
beautiful, gorgeous, but not going to help him sell any chandeliers.
Any
And
chandeliers.
Jordan Smith's audition on The Voice.
Ah.
Some of the biggest things that showed up. So I can't tell you how many times we moved over Jordan Smith into the negative keyword wall, or competitors. Like if you've got, especially if you're in the trades, movers, heating and air, that will have that in their name, heating and cooling. Or they'll run things on broad match versus phrase match versus exact match. You need to know the difference between all of those, because broad match is going to have every word show up. It can be a good strategy for some industries, but it can be a horrible strategy for others because of, D&D moving is going to, show up and it's got moving in there. Well, he's not D&D moving. Some people will target the competitors, but then you have to have the person on the phone that knows how to answer it.
Yeah.
In order to, convert that. Because if they're like, oh, well, we're not D&D moving. Okay, well, why are we advertising for that then?
Yeah.
My husband likes to do, in answer to your question, you didn't ask this specifically, but just the word campaign triggered it. Yeah. He likes to have campaigns he can turn off and on by the season, because then it's already built. So if we know that something's really going to influx in a certain season, then we can turn it on and we can pause it. And he'll do that in the onboarding. So that one campaign we added for our mover was actually his name, because he's in Cincinnati. There's a mover that's in Dayton and Columbus that has almost the exact name. It's unbelievable how close it is. So we have his name as a keyword and we advertise under that, because otherwise people were clicking on the other one thinking it was them, but then he doesn't want to drive all the way to Dayton or Columbus. So it's really a lost lead and it was a waste of his money.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. So knowing all those nuances are super key. And again, agencies aren't bad, but they're outsourcing it to someone in the Philippines. They've got it on Smart Campaign. They're not paying attention to it. Right. And a lot of people are wasting their money. They'll tell you can do a $300 budget.
Yeah.
You can.
You could.
Yeah, it might be
not going to be the best for you.
Right. And you're not going in and looking at all those little things on a daily basis.
Yeah. So. What I got one more question for you, because I know this is a big one.
Yeah.
Right. So this is honestly, this has been really great, because especially I really wanted to position this particular episode. There's a lot of other ways we could have gone around it.
Oh, I love it.
But I wanted people to, especially that your niche is family-owned businesses.
Yeah.
And a lot of times this is either new or they've tried a couple things and they're trying to figure out what exactly works. So, and also people that are not family-based business can also learn from this too, if they're just a small business that wants to hey, how do I dabble into this? What is from all the clients you've worked with over the years, what's the typical return on investment? Because a lot of gurus that are out there, they say if you're not getting 10x 20x and ROAS, or they're always stating these giant returns, right? I'm putting in $1 and I'm getting 12 back, or and they're just, so what should we exactly be what's an average return that we should be getting? So that way also, if we're working with somebody and we're not getting that, should we quit? Should we go talk to you? Enlighten us.
Such a good question. And I don't know that it has an exact answer.
Okay.
I mean, you definitely want to make sure you're paying for what you're investing and getting more back than that. And I'm probably maybe going to throw you with the way that I answer this question, but it's what's on my mouth and I've got to have it come out.
Yeah.
Because we help family-owned businesses, and specifically we help dad-owned businesses with the missions of them being able to be a more mentally present father. We're not financial advisors, okay, when I say this, but I have a really good friend who is, And when he sits down with a couple and he's talking about what their goals are, he's very specific and granular about, okay, you want to go on vacation, but where? Do you want to go camping? Do you want to go to Paris? Do you want to go to Disneyland? And don't just tell me it's 12 grand, right? It might be, he wants to get the exact number of 11,600 and what time you need it by.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest return on investment that I can give, that I feel like we can give our clients, and it's not a specific number, but it's that it's done for you. And like, we have a client I've helped since 2009.
Mm-hmm.
He's a what do they call it? A serialpreneur, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
got like 7 different businesses that he's running. The last time I talked to him on the phone, and he invests 5 figures with us every month. The last time I talked to him on the phone was the middle of June. He's been on vacation with his wife and his 2 sons, and his business has not skipped a beat. So I don't know what that number is for every different business, because every different business is so custom. And that's why I'm not going to give this like, overarching answer, because I think
Yeah.
every business is so custom. But that they can take, what I say is I take marketing off your shoulders so that if your kids are small enough, you can be up there and their kids can be up there instead.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife, if you want to, like, have fun, right? But because it's great that maybe their marketing's being handled right, but if they're sitting and thinking about it while they're home and they're not mentally present with their kids, then what is it all for?
Gotcha.
So we're going to work with each business on, what do you need to make? What does this need to make sense for? I'm not a business coach. I'm not a financial planner. And so what we really like to do is work as teams with those, right? With the business coach, with the financial planner, with what the goals are. What do you need your advertising to produce? But I mean, it should definitely be paying for itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
And you should definitely have metrics that are, and KPIs and KRIs that are trending in the right direction. I've heard the number 5 times,
Okay.
but I don't know that that's the answer for every business, because
Yeah.
some business might be happy with 2 times and some might not be happy unless it's 10 times.
Yeah.
So if I say that number, right, and they're like, oh, well, shoot, I wanted 10, so I'm not going to work with them. We try to be as custom as we possibly can,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No, it definitely does. What I'm hearing is definitely on the lowest end. It should always, with your investment, you should at least make your investment back. That's like the low end.
That's the
The
absolute lowest. Yes.
yeah.
A
The
little more
middle
than
of
that.
it
But if you're
is
not doing that, that's a problem.
yes. Yes. So that's the lowest, and then the middle of it is, hey, maybe 5 times is kind of the middle of the road, and it could go as much as 10 times. But then I also heard that, and this is typical with anybody, right? It's especially because you're so in the mindset of also family-based businesses. So
I am. Can't turn it
so
off.
yeah, yeah. So sometimes it's about ultimately what's your goal with the overall business and your marketing. Like if it is more time to
Yeah.
spend with your family, or to go on vacation, or to not think about the engine and if business is going to come through the door, well then that might be at even a greater value than even if
It's
it
the
was at 10 times,
intangibles.
20 times,
Yeah.
whatever it is. But yeah, it's those intangibles of what the goal is, or if like, hey, if it's building enough where, hey, I might open up another location, or I might do something else. Okay, maybe that's the goal. So it
Right.
seems like it depends on what the goal is, but for sure,
Correct.
if you're working with somebody and you're not at least getting back your investment, it may be
Yeah.
time to
Call me
switch.
now. Call me now.
It may be time to switch
Well,
people.
and
Uh,
I love this question too, because, and I can't remember who, I have so many virtual coffees. I'm always networking and trying to meet new
mhm,
people and referral partners and marketing vendors and all that. But if it's not If you're banging your head against the wall, you've got a headache, right? That's a
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
but it's also it needs to you need to talk with someone who cares about what your goals are,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And you also need to talk to someone that, in my opinion, understands what you're going through, because the reason we love working with family owned business is I grew up in one. My husband and I run one together now. I mean, we have a 2.5 and a 4.5 year old that are
For
sleeping
sure.
right now.
Yeah.
How I get the 4.5 to sleep, people ask me all the time. I don't know. Routines. But um, we understand, like, hey, your kid got sick, or we just had a client whose dad was in the hospital and they had no idea what was going on. So we rescheduled. Like, people that have empathy, we like to say we get you because we are you. I mean, we're going through the same
Right.
struggles. We're a 4-year business, right? And we have a lot of things figured out because I had a lot of experience in this before then.
Yeah.
So it's, 4 years on paper and then like how much experience with it. But we're making some of the same decisions.
Yeah.
Do we do this yet? Do we wait? Do we scale? Do we all those things? But we actually, I mean, we've had last year, we had our jeweler, they bought a bank because they're expanding into a bank. We had
Wow.
another company who they literally ran out of space and they bought a 2-acre property. It was the martial arts school that we're helping. So
Mm-hmm.
those are wins too. And it's what does that? My husband, he's a martial artist. So if he was on here, and you ask this question, he would be talking about win conditions, right? When
Yep.
he goes into a tournament, he knows what throw he's going to do. He knows what's going to get him the points to win. He's focused on that one match. And so sometimes we're focused on that 1 month. What are the win conditions that month? And then what win conditions are we also growing to?
Mm-hmm.
It's ever changing. What did Google throw out with how they're trying to run campaigns with AI? Sorry if you're a fan of AI, there's lots of positive uses of it. Turning your Google campaign over to AI is not one I would recommend, because they don't know you. They don't know
Yeah.
your business. Like our locksmith, they don't like doing anything with auto lockouts. Google,
Yeah.
we've run the campaign for 4 years. They keep suggesting auto lockouts. I'm like, how many times do I need to deny this for
Right.
you to realize
Right.
don't do that? Right?
Right.
Like, we're not exactly into the self-driving cars. We like to have a little control, but other people are like, oh, drive me. Like, to each his own, right? But when it comes to people's money, and when it comes to the fact that there's a family and there's kids and there's maybe grandparents that are, living with people too, or,
Yeah.
the mover we helps 3 generations.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, like, his business feeds the mouths of 3 generations. Still his kids, and he's older.
Yeah.
Their kids and his great grandkids. And we take that very seriously. That's not something we are playing around with, but we have that level of empathy and care because
Mm-hmm.
it's what we would want someone to have with our business. And
Yeah.
so we try to offer that too. That's why we'll tell some people, hey, hold up. I mean, there's people I've built incredible relationships with on LinkedIn, and they're like, Anneliese, I want to do Google ads with you. Okay, slow your roll. Like, what budget do we have? What are we trying to accomplish? And that's what I
Right.
was trying to remember to say earlier. Since the very first business I ever sat down with when I was in corporate sales,
Mm-hmm.
I've asked the same 2 questions. What's your goal? What's your budget?
Right.
And we're going to do what matches that as close as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And it would drive my manager crazy because they called it like the Happy Meal analogy, right? They wanted everyone to have a little bit of this and a little bit of this. And I'm like, they don't need a website and they don't
Yeah.
need this,
Yeah.
and they only have a budget. And the best thing that's going to help them or hit their goal is for do Google ads. And I
Yeah.
would sell people and I would increase and max out till we got to a certain impression share, which is the same strategy we have now. My manager never understood it, but my customers appreciated it because it was what was getting them the best return on investment. I always say, let's do flashy later. Like,
Yeah.
right
For
now, we
sure.
need to pay the bills. And I'm all for branding and all for those kind of things. But if you're trying to feed mouths, and you need this to work, let's put it where it's going to work and help you get some breathing room and, not be, how are we going to pay the mortgage every month? Because you know what? We've been there. We literally have been there when we said goodbye to a almost 6-figure client year 2 because an executive coach was driving their business into the ground and we didn't want to go with them.
Yeah.
My son had been
Crazy
born
story.
2 weeks before. 2 weeks before we said goodbye to this client. So we had 2 under 2. Did not make sense to a lot of people, but we wouldn't be where we are now had we not gone all in and decided we were going to help the family-owned businesses because they're so overlooked.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone wants to go after the multi-location. They want to go after just the big fish, right? We've made a living and raised a family since 2007 helping the family owned, and they're so appreciative. They are so loyal. We don't need contracts because of how loyal they are. I mean, those checks come in every month.
Yeah.
And it's families helping families.
Yeah, it's a very it's like down to the core of what you do, and it sounds like you have a very strategic mindset and definitely connection with everybody that you work with. And I know that I've even seen just I know for everybody listening, watching later on when this is posted, but for people that are popping in on the live, there's actually a lot of I see a lot of tags of like cleaning, elite cleaning, and some other ones as well that I know it looks like they got a family-owned business already. So hopefully they grabbed a lot of takeaways from this episode. Anneliese, where can people find you and get connected with you? I know we're connected on LinkedIn, but what's the best way to get connected with you?
That is the best way. I am on there. That's majority of where we do business. But so under my name, and I'm sure you'll have the spelling, but it's under Anneliese Vance or Never Miss a Moment Consulting. And then you can link over to me. And then our website is nevermissamomentconsulting.com. For the moment, we are in the middle of a rename and a rebrand that we're really, really excited about. But not yet. So currently that's where to find me. And I always say I answer all of the messages personally. And if they put in that, so if they go to our website and they go to Let's Get Started page, because I recently just changed it. So I hope that's right. But the Let's Get Started page, and they send a message and they mention this podcast, we do have a first-time offer for all podcast listeners that we will talk to them about. So they can do that, but just mention Jamal or Forever or whatever. I'll know who it is. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on this episode. And I know we went like really deep into Google Ads, and I think that's awesome because I don't think we've ever done that in all the episodes that we've had so far. So I think that people are going to get a lot of value for this. Please connect with Anneliese as well on LinkedIn. And
on there, if you DM me or you send me a connection request, I know like sometimes it's limited on when you can send the messages. Just try and mention this so I know that's where you found me. So I don't think I have a lot of random people that I know you know what I'm talking about, Jamal.
Oh yeah. Don't be a random.
Mention or go best place. If you can't send me a DM because you're like limited on that, go to one of my posts and do a comment and just mention this, and I'll DM you. That could be a loophole.
That works. So don't be a random. And definitely
or a pitch slapper. Don't pitch
get
slap
connected. Yeah, don't be doing any pitches.
We could do a whole episode on that.
But if you're listening, watching, please like, comment, subscribe to the episode. We're pumping these things out. We have a ton of amazing content like this where you can meet these amazing people. And don't forget, you can change your circle, you can change your life. So thank you all so much for listening and watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell for more amazing content that we're going to be putting out. And don't forget, you can change your circle to change your life.